make sure your mobile phones are on silent mode, please. Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand at the intersection of a rapidly shifting global economy and unprecedented technological breakthroughs, the need for clarity has never been more vital. The world is no longer evolving in decades. It is about evolving in days. For the students, our professionals, our aspiring leaders in this legacy institution, this shift represents both challenges and also extraordinary opportunities. The theme for today is discover, decide, and define your career. Our objective is to move beyond the surface of these changes and provide you with a strategic perspective which is required to navigate them. It is now time to begin our first deep dive into the forces shaping our future. To address our first topic, which is digital governance and technological advancements, we have assembled a panel that brings together the pinnacle of administrative policy, legal framework, and technological innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to introduce our panelists, and I'm extremely honored to do this. Our panelists for today are Dr. Abdul Mishra, IAS. He is the State Information Commissioner of Tamil Nadu. He is a senior administrator with extensive experience in key government leadership roles. He is also an accomplished author and a policy expert. Please join us. Dr. Santosh Babu, IAS. He is a medical doctor turned administrator known for innovative, technology-driven governance. He has led several impactful initiatives, including the ERP-based government systems and digital transformation projects. He currently holds key leadership roles in the government of Kerala, including Managing Director of KFON and KITFRA. Sir, welcome and welcome to the panel. We have with us Mr. Murli Sundaram. He is a seasoned technology consultant with over 25 years of experience in emerging technologies, including generative AI and quantum computing. He is the head of the Special Interest Group for AI at IIT Madras Research Park and an adjunct professor at leading institutions. An alumnus of IIT Madras, he is recognized as a thought leader and a speaker in innovation and digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm applause to Mr. Murli Sundaram. Welcome to the panel, sir. We have thus Professor Dr. Sri Sudha. She is the Dean, School of Law at SRM Institute of Science and Technology, with over 23 years of experience in legal education and academic leadership. An expert in international trade law, IPR, cyber law, and international taxation. She is known for her contributions to research, to teaching, and institutional development. She is published author and widely recognized for mentoring future legal professionals and advancing legal education. Please give a warm applause to Professor Dr. Welcome to the panel. Our moderator for this session, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Kunal Shankar. He is the Deputy Business Editor from the Hindu Group. We request him also to kindly take the stage.
Good evening, all of you. Is this mic on? Yes. Good evening, all of you, and it's always good to be. Good evening, all of you, and it's always good to be back at Madras Management Association. I've had the privilege of hosting another event here for the Hindu in the past, and indeed welcome to this panel on technological advancements and digital transformation. As the MC had already mentioned, we have a stellar panel today bringing together deep administrative as well as pedagogical insights and legal expertise. So let me briefly set the context. We are living through a period of rapid transformation, technological change, from artificial intelligence automating routine tasks to the complex digitization of governance systems across legacy institutions like the one that I represent here, which is about 150 years old. What is increasingly clear is that India's digital governance architecture must evolve in step with this transformation, both to seize opportunities for efficient public service delivery, of which we'll most certainly speak about today, and to indeed address emerging risks. Digital governance today goes far beyond, and you would agree with me on this, service delivery. Rather, it is something as mundane as registering a vehicle transfer. It is about processing an insurance claim, or indeed accessing land records if we have claims on heirs, etc. Its reach is pervasive. From digital payments to education, these systems require robust regulation, standardization, and accountability. But at the same time, critical questions do arise on privacy, on free speech, on data sovereignty, and the balance between innovation and regulation. It is these tensions that we hope to unpack in today's discussion. So let me first begin with Mr. Mishra. So with your experience at, in governance, I wondered how are governments utilizing this sort of rapid digitalization, information technology, and the use of artificial intelligence, particularly, as I mentioned, for instance, land management. In fact, Tamil Nadu has been at the forefront of sort of managing this, if I'm right. There are several states. Most states claim to be at the forefront. I must caveat that. There's also this reducing of pendency in judicial and quasi-judicial forums. So how are you addressing these sort of opportunities?
First of all, I'd like to thank the Hindu group and the organizers to call me here. And it also gave me an opportunity to meet my dear colleague, most outstanding Hindu couple, and many of you whom I know through my various postings which I had in the government. When we were students, there was a lot of reading being done in those days. So there was a author called George Orwell who wrote a book called 1984. And there was a famous line in that book called The Big Brother is Watching. Today, we are trying to give a government which says, watch out, Big Brother, the citizens are watching. So when we started being in the government, those were the eras of the typewriter. Right. Those were the eras of telex. You will get a summon, and before the summon reaches you, a warrant of arrest will be issued. But today we have come to a stage where your land reform, all your land records are digitalized. You know what happened was in the government, when we came, we were trying to preserve the land records.
Right.
It was the era of microfilm. It was considered to be a very high-ticket technology.
Right.
Then we started talking about digitalization. Let us put it all together in a digital form. Then came online. Then let's ask questions and get online answers. And now it is real time.
Right.
So now this is the governance phases which we are seeing. For example, in land records, today you go to a Seva Kendra, the e-Sevai Kendra will provide you any land record which you want. And we are going to a stage where you go register your land, automatically there is a change in the land records. There is automatic change in the local body's record. If Atulya Mishra buys a house in Taisha and registers it, it is mutated in his name, the electricity bill starts coming in his name, the water bill starts coming in his name, the property documents, property tax starts coming to him. Probably we are now going to be also having the bank address will be changed. For example, today it doesn't automatically changes my address in the passport.
Yes.
You have to still go to the passport office and
Yeah.
then, get your address changed. It automatically doesn't change your booth in the electoral system. So there are many things which are happening. So this is one example. The other example I'll take you from the field of sports youth welfare. We are all aware of a concept called NEET. Tamil Nadu NEET is a very politically sensitive subject. But for me, the NEET is also, there's another NEET, which is said not in employment, not in education, not in training. That means there's a person who is NEET. So that NEET person, you will be surprised how many such NEET people are there between the age group of 19 to 29 in most of the states. 29% of our young people are NEET. It also happens because, the women get married at that time. People are searching for employment, but they are not in education, they are not in employment, and they are not in training.
Right.
So this is where, if we get a database of NEET, we can do some kind of a skill mapping.
Right.
We can think of providing them some employment, some engagement. So this is one area where we are doing in the youth welfare. There is, both Government of India is coming up with its own systems. Tamil Nadu government is also doing its own bit. Then the third thing in sports. Today, unless you have an athletic management system, you can't think of doing well in sports. So we are putting up an athletic management system. We are also making the sporting facilities available to public.
Right.
Tomorrow, our stadiums, for example, are very intimidating places. You can't simply walk into a stadium and start doing your 100 meters. You will have to go through a bureaucracy of a stadium officer, of a coach. But today what we are doing is we are putting it on turf. It's an app called Turf. You want to go swimming, you book your space online.
Right.
And you can go, if I would like to know how many of you are using Turf. At least there's one person here. A lot of people are using it for pickleball.
And most of the hands are all young folks. So that's heartening as well.
So
Most of
today
those
I want to tell you, our stadiums, our box cricket stadiums, our pickleball stadiums, our gyms are also available on Turf.
So it's
And
a sort of a
cheaper.
platform aggregator. Turf is a sort of in a manner of speaking.
So what is happening is, those places which used to look so intimidating, you didn't know how to enter there, you now book a place and you just show up. So that kind of a situation has come. And about education, which will be my last bit of topic. Today we have 6 crores cases pending in various judicial and quasi-judicial forums. 6 crores is some number. When we talk about, populations of the country, we talk about an 80 lakh country, which is being talked about today in a very, very often. It's a huge country. Here you are talking about 6 crore files pending in different courts and quasi-judicial courts. So unless you apply artificial intelligence, unless you have a disruptor, there is no way we can get justice in our lifetime. So that is what, of course, e-courts, virtual courts. Ultimately, what is a court case? It's an affidavit and a counter-affidavit. And I think it is possible, I guess it is possible, to find out some way by which at least the first level of judgment can be given by artificial intelligence. And if you have the capacity to appeal against it, if you have grounds for appeal, then only you should be going for adjudication. So, but a lot of work will have to be done by our IT experts. A lot of IT experts are here to create a situation in which our artificial intelligence is able to deliver some kind of a judgment, at least a primary judgment, which could be then adjudicated. So that is one area which we are trying our best. RTA application, for example, after we have done it online, previously we used to get 30,000 applications and we were only able to process some 6,000 of them. Today, when we get 30,000, we are almost processing 29,000. So that much of difference has come. But still we are not online, we are not real time. We are still not able to do that kind of delivery which we are expected to do. So these are a few things. I think I've spoken enough, and I would request my illustrious panelists are there. They will shed more light on this.
I think, your last point was actually the most fascinating, I felt, particularly about, the justice delivery system sort of on supercharged with artificial intelligence. And it'd be interesting because, and I'm sure, Professor Sudha here could, I'm sure we'll sort of touch upon this point as to what level of human intervention, if we can call it that, is required, particularly in the judiciary. Because these would be qualitative decisions that need to be taken based on cases, etc. But let me, take the same sort of set of questions to Mr. Babu. So you've also been in government for a good many years, and you're sort of trying to transform the governance infrastructure in Kerala, our neighboring state. What is the trajectory of e-governance in India, given the emergence of new technologies, many of which have just been mentioned, artificial intelligence, generative AI, quantum computing, etc. And how do you sort of envision it being applicable in governance?
Thank you. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Mr. Kunal. It's an absolute privilege to be back in Madras Management Association. Captain Vijay Kumar, of course, sir, meeting with him after a long time, meeting with all of you. And coming back to Tamil Nadu, because I have been a Tamil Nadu cadre IAS officer since 1995 till 2020. And then I took PRS, and now I'm in the government of Kerala. Very important question. The important thing that digitization does for governance is it reduces the time taken, right? I'm sure most of you have gone to a government office. So is it possible for you to imagine a situation where nobody visits a government office? That's one question. So the second question is it possible to bring the entire government of Tamil Nadu to this mobile phone? Can you imagine that? Can you bring turf and everything together into one single app? Because we have today no premium for time. Today you go to a government office, they say, romba busy they keep so I was just imagining this. If you live till 100 years, we live only for 30,000 days. And adila, one third is 8 hours goes in sleep. So basically you have only 20,000 days. So each 20,000 days, I think a large number of days we spend hovering around government offices, courts, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So is it possible to imagine a situation? And I'm thinking that it's possible. We have created something in Kerala. It's called K-Smart, which reduces the time taken. I'll be presenting it after this session. So I think, the governments were created to ensure that the people at large get not only justice, but things on time so that they can devote their time for whatever they want. They want to sing, they want to dance, they want to enjoy life, they want to do corporate, they want to be in the private sector. The idea is to release time for people. So the best form of governance would be when government releases time for people, rather than asking government to, citizens to come to government offices. So this is the first premise. The second premise is that no, it should become a crime to visit a government office. This is my personal feeling, because I created the first paperless office in Tamil Nadu, or in India, in the Women's Development Corporation back in 1999. And since then, a lot of water has flown down the Coombe and the Ganga. Technology has emerged massively. And you see what is the geopolitics that's happening. Precision. Precision is the key, whether it's happening for good or bad. Precision is the key. And the only place where precision has not come in is government. Because we are like doctors. Doctor will say, you eat spinach. But wife will say, andal ellarkite solluvaanga andal keere saapida maten. That's exactly how government is. We prescribe to everybody, but we don't do it ourselves. So is it possible for us to imagine a world-class government? Because if we want to become a world-class superpower, an economic superpower, then I think we need to economize on time. And time is of essence. We are all traveling the way towards our final destination. In our lifetime, we'd like to see a massively developed India where every citizen is very proud to be saying he's a proud Indian. That can happen only when everybody is part and parcel of this revolution. So I think technology with artificial intelligence, with all the emerging technologies, we can take it forward. Only thing is, within government, we need to change our systems to suit what the Gen Z is expecting. The Gen Z is looking at things happening at rocket speed. So that should happen, and it's possible. Today in Kerala, thanks to K-Smart, I can give a simple example. Building permits. Building permits usually take between 30 days to 300 days. And even in Kerala, it was 30 days to 300 days. We have brought it to below 3 seconds in Kerala. Self-certified building permits. So, imagine, and when marriages happen, marriages happen where? Marriages happen in heaven. But they have to come down to earth to collect their marriage certificate, correct? So what the average Malayali does is, he will marry and go to Dubai. Then the Dubai guy will say, where is your marriage certificate? Then he'll fly down. Then the wife has to be there. Then the registrar has to be there. 10, 15 days, few lakhs gone. So my team said, why should they come? They can be anywhere in the world. We created what's called the video KYC. Today we issued 99,000 certificates in less than 24 minutes. That's the power of technology. So technology is all pervasive. Government has to use it. I'm sure the private is using it because they want to economize. You have to ultimately answerable to your shareholders. But in government, we are answerable to the citizens. And I think we are all living by the minute, by the second, and we should enjoy those times. We should not be worrying about, as sir said, when you build a building, you are looking for land. And the land, you will go to the local body. They'll say, come back tomorrow, day after. Then you have to get a building permit. Then when you build the building, you'll have to get a completion certificate. Then you'll have to go to the electricity board to get the electricity. Then you'll have to go to the water authority for water. Why can't it all happen at the click? The moment the building is complete, the completion certificate is given, why can't the electricity board come and do their work? That kind of thing is possible today. It is not possible, let's say, 25, 30 years back. Today, we are on par with the best in the world. In terms of technology, we have the best guys sitting. I'm telling you, I'm so proud of my team because, you give an idea, they'll take 10x and do it. And today, Tamil Nadu being a forerunner in technology, and I've served here as the Secretary IT in 2010 and Principal Secretary IT in 2018-20. And I've seen the massive change that's happening in Tamil Nadu also. So together, I think we can create an ecosystem where the world should look at us and say, look at this. These guys are doing something different. I think that's where the bureaucracy and the politicians have to come together and converge and say that world class is possible. I'll stop here. Thank you.
So I think, absolutely fascinating insights into, and I'm really eager to sort of watch your K-Smart presentation to see what Kerala's doing. But, a follow-on question to both of you, and you can choose to address it whichever way you want. There is this inherent risk of an excess amount of information of private citizens, which would eventually be in government hands, all of which would be digital, but just for instance, as an example, as simple as something like our electricity bills and the meter numbers. If you put it in, you sort of find out who the person is, where the person lives, how much they've paid the last time, electricity consumption. How much of this data is prone to misuse? how much of it can the government truly secure for a private citizen? Of course, we have the the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, etc., and there's an evolving architecture, but what are the sort of guardrails that the government is intending to put in place?
There's a saying that in today's world, whosoever controls the data will control the future. We lived in forests, then we came to villages, then we came to cities. But now they say we live in the internet. So I think privacy, lack of surveillance has actually become a thing of past. Even if you want it, it is not available to you. Whether it's governments, whether they are corporates. Today you see something on Amazon and you start getting notification. You show your location in Kodaikanal and you will start getting the hotels and the restaurants of Kodaikanal coming to you. In fact, possibility of government misusing the citizens' data is yet to be ascertained. It is yet to be validated.
Not so much the government per se. I think there could be other actors, not just the government. I'm not saying that the government cannot, but yeah.
But yes, the kind of digital arrests which are going on, the kind of cyber crimes which are happening, it is basically because everything is available on a virtual space. And it is going to be a major challenge. It is not going to be a minor challenge. It's going to be a real major challenge to how to ensure that people are not cheated and people are not cheated in a very big way. So these challenges are there, and then of course the challenges like the war hitting on the cables and data just disappearing from the space, and we believing only on data. It is going to be a very difficult situation. So I have a feeling that we will have to ensure that there is duplicity, there is availability of data at different places, mainly from the government point of view, that there should not be just one place where the entire data is stored and then we are totally clueless once it is disturbed. But I still believe that these kind of problems which we are facing are much lesser than the enormity of the pendency which we are having, at least in the judicial system. If we don't have disruptors, we will have to again wait for our lifetime to get the things moving. So disruption in form of AI, disruption in form of digitalization, in form of big data is necessary. And of course there will be issues. I hope many of you must have seen a movie called Mercy on Amazon Prime. Has anybody seen it? That is a movie about Oscar-winning movie. I would request all of you to go tonight, and if you have an Amazon Prime, please see the movie called Mercy. I would also suggest that you see a movie made by an Indian filmmaker called The Humans in Loop.
Yes.
This is again a very well-acclaimed movie, and you will realize how AI can be biased. So all these things are happening, but I think Santosh will also throw some light because he's practicing on a day-to-day, he's sitting on big data, and how it can be protected from these kind of vagaries.
Sure.
Yeah, I think they have only 22 minutes. So, but I'll just say that the day we have, married this, we have given up our privacy. But having said that, quantum computing, quantum safety, quantum security is something which is around maybe 4 or 5 years later. It's still happening. I think we need to secure. We are very, 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 very underinvested on cyber security. Let me tell you that. We just hack away. We are hoping that nobody hacks. Recently, when my network operating center in K-Phone, Kerala Fiber Optic Network, was hacked from Pakistan. That's the day we realized we have a loophole there, and we are trying to put a SOC. Extremely underinvested. People come and put their dongles just like that and go. In a country called Estonia, which is one of the best in the world in terms of cyber security,
right.
and they have something called a forum called Bureaucrat, KRFT, something like that, bureaucrat. And people can give the consent, which data they want to give, which they data want. So once they have given consent for something, they can also withdraw the consent.
Withdraw consent.
So to that level, people are developed. So we just need to cut, copy, and paste. Like, Singapore did. Singapore was a mafia country. But, at some point, when Lee Kuan Yew came, and he said, go cut, copy, and paste. And if there's something new to innovate, let's do that. I think we should just cut, copy, and paste what some of these leading countries are doing. And we should send our officers, bureaucrats, etc., abroad to many of these countries to learn from it, not to just see the countryside, but to learn from it and, and be accountable for it. Yeah. So I think privacy, despite the DPDP Act, the massive trillions of data that I'm having is available. So we know that, everybody knows that, how it goes out and up. And there's a 250 crore fine, etc. for,
yes.
But the rules are not out yet. Yeah. But I think we should work together as a society to ensure that, as government also, to ensure that this doesn't go out. And there are mechanisms to do it. It's not difficult, but we need investment. Right. And that investment has to be a percentage of the GDP or GSDP, whatever it is.
Fascinating. Thank you. Thank you so much for those insights. And as you said, countries, for instance, the right to be forgotten as in Germany and other countries in terms of privacy. Mr. Murli, if I can come to you, sir, we spoke a little bit about pedagogy, etc., particularly the use of artificial intelligence for students, for the youth. How do we balance access to technology for the next generation, of which many are here, while protecting them from harmful content, scams, and cybercrime? And of course, we can sort of take it from there. Maybe if you try and address that first.
Okay. Thanks for having me. And I just wanted to say that glad that Santosh has talked about quantum computing. I'll give a prelude on that. I'll come back to that because it's important in the sense that quantum compute capability, they have something called quantum supremacy. When we reach quantum supremacy, your existing digital certificate are gone, right? Originally, people thought that it is going to be 2030 by the time they can quantum computing. And Google has just advanced the day by 1 year, 2029. If you look at quantum development, whether it is isolated neutron or photonics or cryogenics, all of them put together when you are looking at it, I think we are probably around 2028 you may have quantum supremacy. Why is it important? Because both communication and data will have challenges, and according to some industrial analysts, it is equivalent of a Y2K of the modern day. It affects everybody. So that is one point that I wanted to just stick a pin on before I go into the GenAI. So for students, what is the one thing that they may have to learn in the future in order for them to be agile about anything that they want to learn? Not necessarily about engineering or environment or, let's say, starting a business, right? So it is coming to what is known as the generative AI, looks and likes of the ChatGPT, Gemini. There are many tools that are available, or even tools like Lovable, where you can give a reference of a app or a website. It can clone it for you, and you can innovate from that, right? So any solution that you want to build, it's like a technology singularity point. You and you alone, every one of you, can do it yourself. You don't need anybody else, right? So that gives certain complexity for the academics, for the professionals. That's a separate talk. I just wanted to give an idea that potential is there for everybody to do it. And that is giving rise to a lot more startup. India is number 3 in the startup universe, if you will. A lot of youngsters are trying, not necessarily in the academic sense, quote unquote, fundamentally strong, but that doesn't matter, right? If you are able to solve a problem, that is very important. And you are able to solve a problem not by being an expert or a deep PhD scholar, all due respect to PhD scholars, you will be able to contribute to the society, whether it is an environmental problem or it is a rocket science. Even rocket science is not a rocket science these days, if you will, right? So we are going to be in a period of abundance of technology and I would say even a virtual wealth that is available for you, for us. It is up to us to take it up and build up upon it. And when it comes to security and guardrails, there are experts who are working on it. And I think, you have to split between what is your focus point. If you are onto creating something, go ahead and do it. If you are very passionate about contributing on the information security side, come over to the other side and develop capabilities brick by brick, and thereby you will be able to develop it on it. For example, quantum computing itself. If you want to protect yourself from digital certificate compromise, you need to have something known as post-quantum encryption for that, right? That again, you don't have to have a PhD for that. You can look up, you can learn, you can create your own algorithm, create your own code, and will be able to do that. So everything is accessible to you. That is one point.
Right.
The last one I wanted to provoke on is what is known as, there's this concept called one-person AI organization. That organization will have only one person. Rest of all the activity, whether it's a he or a she, will be able to manage it themselves. This is being explored by global organization because when you have in future a big enterprise, you've already known the impact of Claude. It's able to develop code and
Yes.
solutions for you very effectively. And it is having an impact in the stock market.
Yes.
IT services company, consulting company are falling down because they think that an agent will be able to do that. So that is actually an advantage for all the newcomers, students, whether they are in a particular professional discipline or not. Even an art student, an economic student can innovate. So I think about one-person AI, look for it, register for it, and develop it. And I think, we have great things to achieve for.
I think, so just yesterday we reported this news. Oracle has laid off 30,000 people globally. So speaking of that, but you seem to suggest that there's much more opportunities that are emerging from quantum computing and space technologies, etc.
A quick one on it. If you look at it in the history,
Yeah.
whenever you introduce a new technology, there is a fear that it may reduce employment. Whether it is in the
Right.
coal period,
Right.
it's called Devok's paradox, right? Whether it is coal period or electricity or even IT services, if
Or
you look,
electric vehicles now.
paralegal, everywhere. As soon as the wave is over, you need more people than less people. That is something to think about.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Professor Sudha, if I can come to you, you are very much an academic and you're sort of observing the ethical side of the development of artificial intelligence and governance structures. What are the causes and consequences of algorithmic bias in AI systems used in governance? And also, what role can law play in addressing such bias? We've already seen such bias play out, say, on the streets in America with automated vehicles, accidents, etc. But it's a much deeper issue because eventually all these systems are fed with data by humans. So the quality of data then leads to bias within the system. So how does one then understand the tension between data sovereignty and the free flow of information as well in a sort of a globalized digital economy? Maybe collectively, if you can address all those questions.
Good evening, one and all. Let me thank Hindu as well as SRM leadership for providing this opportunity. As Kunal has rightly stated, there are three important questions I have to answer. The first one is about algorithmic bias. Dear friends, like Santosh has rightly stated, we are married to this gadget, which means 24/7 we are doing our communication, connecting with corporates through emails. For example, extensively if I am using Gmail for my commercial communication, immediately the Gmail corporation will record the scale of my activity. Based on that, it will suggest me to record the details of my transactions in its cloud. But being a businessman, if I am not a top 5 technology companies like IBM, Facebook, Amazon, if I am a MSME, I am under impression that Google is offering a good cloud which is having a capacity of 250 MB. Then I will start storing my trade secrets, confidential information, business, strategy, so on and so forth. Sometimes I will store my personal information also, what is my income, what is my black money, white money, my contacts, everything. These algorithms will help companies to strategize their commercial activities as well as influence our day-to-day activities. That is the reason why at Europe, in the year 2025, they have come out with AI Act. By virtue of that, they can question a multinational company without my permission. Basically, at the time of storing the data, I am under impression that the privacy as well as security of the data is secured. But according to EU law, we can prosecute, we can question if the company commercialize the same data. But whereas in India, by virtue of Digital Data Protection Act 2023, that falls under a typical situation. Google stands under the capacity of data fiduciary, wherein the legal professional role will come into picture. Straight away, I can file a case before High Court for violation of my privacy at one stage. And at the later stage, if there has been any economic loss occurred to my business, I can claim compensation. Like this, there is a stark difference between the traditional litigation method, the traditional way of handling the things by virtue of digitization. We are under impression that, like Mishra sir has rightly stated, around 6 crore cases are pending. But if these kind of matters reaches the constitutional courts, instantly they are providing relief to the individual because the writ jurisdiction with lightning speed, courts will provide justice to the people. But to register that prima facie case, the students as well as advocates should visualize who is the owner of this data, and being a data fiduciary, what are the permissions granted by me? Are they safeguarding my data or commercializing the data? So such kind of skills the students should harness. And after that, Kunal's second question is with regard to data sovereignty. During my generation, after independence, in the preamble of Indian Constitution itself, the sovereignty of India will extend up to 12 nautical miles, and we have fixed boundaries. But in the era of digitization, we are under impression that cross-border movement of data, it is impossible. According to our Indian law, we have classified the whole data into 7 categories under DPDP Act. According to that, the personal sensitive data, that cannot be shared outside our country. For that also, we have sector-specific regulators. For example, assume for a moment I am the CEO of MasterCard. During my generation, I used to do all the transactions, my transactions with the help of debit card or credit card. But nowadays, we are doing it with digitization, UPI. But in 2016, Reserve Bank of India has come out with regulations that is popularly called as data localization guidelines. That is the reason why, dear friends, to safeguard the sovereignty of citizens' data, the government is mandating all financial companies, especially the banking companies, as well as aggregators, you have to store the data belongs to my activities within the territory. That is the reason why you are observing the exponential growth of data centers as well as the cloud storage capacity. Like that, we are protecting the data sovereignty. If we look at the Government of India's initiative, after observing there is a scarcity of this crude oil and hydrocarbon reserves, the government has invested around 360 crores to shift government communications from Gmail to our Zoho Mail. Like that, the initiatives are taking place, but like Santosh has rightly stated, there is a long journey to go, but we have started our initiatives to recognize the value as well as the privacy of our government data as well as the citizens' data. And after that, to protect this data from the hands of cyber criminals, from hacking or data breaches also, we have strong cyber security protocols. Regarding that also, like I have stated, after financial sector, our power sector is very, very crucial for the purpose of our good governance system as well as ensuring a secured lifestyle to our people. That's why if you see the cyber security policy of our electricity, that is more advanced than developed countries. Very recently, by virtue of India and Europe free trade agreement, India has inked a pact with Europe for the purpose of developing a very strong cybersecurity infrastructure regarding maritime cybersecurity also. Like that, the government as well as companies are focusing for creating a safe, secured transactions in the digital world. And lastly, when it comes to solvation of disputes also, I'm a very positive person. Last month, if you see, the Supreme Court of India has started allocation of cases to the judges. Digital AI tool. The Chief Justice will feed the master roles to the AI tool with utmost transparency. It will allocate the business to the judges. On pilot basis, they have implemented previous month, and according to Ministry of Justice recent policy, they intend to extend this to state level also, because law and order is the state subject. At central level, they have taken initiative for expedite disposal of the cases. Dear friends, like Sir has rightly stated, 6 crore cases are pending, but this data analytics, very recently, I went through a report released from Niti Aayog, wherein with predictive analysis, they have analyzed, they have identified certain sectors, especially for resolution of motor vehicle dispute. Like Santosh has rightly stated, he has reduced the time of issuance of the license for disposal of motor vehicle accident as well as that related disputes. Kerala is the first state. They have initiated virtual courts system. The future of justice delivery system is 200% dependent on virtual hearing as well as case management. Like Mishra ji has rightly stated, for land record management also, he has taken numerous initiatives, but for court cases management also, especially this case management system, like we manage our day-to-day affairs with our diary, the Government of India, the Ministry of Law and Justice, they have initiated this 3 years before, but we have tasted the success when it comes to disposal of cases before commercial courts. So earlier, the average time for enforcement of a contract is 2,600 days, but today, 315 days. Within 315 days, we could be in a position to enforce a contract. Like that, we are progressing in certain aspects, but because of these digitization aspects, especially the Government of India has taken an initiative of virtual hearings as well as from case filing to decree. If everything is digitized, I am positive in such a way that a justice delivery system will be improved again in the same platform. We will celebrate one aspect in such a way that our justice delivery mechanisms are also functioning as per the expectations from the side of citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. So that's on a rather positive note that Professor Sudha really closed there. I think we are completely out of time, but I would ask Mr. Babu to maybe present his case smart presentation briefly. Yeah, and then we can open it up for questions.
You're really valuing time, Okay. Luckily, none of you are voting in Kerala. Otherwise, I'll be held up by the Election Commission. Because I'm talking about what we've done in Kerala. Can I have the presentation? Senior, very respected IAS officer. Sir, very happy to meet with you. And the third is Captain Vijay Kumar. Where is he? I have addressed this audience, an audience here many years back. So it's always happy to be back to Madras Management Association. Happy to meet Kunal, always on the newspaper, but not seen him. Then Sir and Sudha Madam. Thank you. So I'll just go ahead and give you a quick, depends, you'll have to give me a knock because I'll keep on talking. If you give me a time, I'll stop there. So, as I said, time is of essence. We are living only for 20,000 days. So, count your time. We have to be extremely efficient about that. Wake up at 4 o'clock, design your day, finish at 5 o'clock, have a nice time. That's the way I think human beings are created to be happy. You're not supposed to be tense, stressed out. We are stressed out only because we are not organized. So be careful about time. Second is freedom. So this country is about freedom, right? So we all need our freedoms. We don't need to be entangled in rules and regulations and stuff so that, we lose our time. Just to demystify governance, we only have three things. One is policy. The politicians make the policy. Based on the policy, the bureaucrats create files. And based on the speed of the files, we get some services. So this is the only three things that we do in government, right? So what are the expectations? If I'm sitting at the top, I would expect my employees to be happy, my citizens to be happy, my entrepreneurs to be happy, and we all alert. And how do we make India an economic powerhouse? I'm very fascinated, very intrigued, very deeply passionate about this because we are a huge population, 1.48 billion, more than the Chinese, and we should be at the number one spot in the world. And it's all about, saving time, trying to see that efficient governance brings about those changes in the young startups and the entrepreneurs, the things that you want quickly, is it possible for us to give to you? this transformation, this is a country which nobody wanted. The Chinese left it, the Americans ran away, the British left it, the Malaysians didn't want it. But one man said, it can be transformed. What they did was cut, copy and paste, as I said. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, as it were. We also need to cut, copy and paste from the best, everywhere. Wherever we have, just copy. Unless something new we have, don't create, recreate, etc. We keep doing that in the government. That's why I keep feeling that we should be just copying. We need to have huge investments. Kunal, this is something which I am very, very passionate about. What is the percentage of our GSDP or GDP that we are investing? Government of India is investing a lot, but the state governments are not as much investing on IT. I think if you are moving forward as a state and looking at, let's say, 8 to 10 to 15% growth, then I think we need to have a huge investment on information technology, especially on cyber security, where I also feel quantum security, something Sir was talking about. Quantum security, I'll come to that in a minute. Geographic information system, because I'm coming to that, emerging technologies and data management. As I said earlier, we are sitting on a large number of apps. Sir talked about turf, the large number of applications. Why do we require so many applications? Why can't we have it as a single app on our mobile? You wake up in the morning, just like you look at Facebook, is it possible for you to look at different departments? What is it that you had with them? Is it possible to see the payments that we need to make, etc., on one mobile app? I'm very fascinated with that kind of thing. So the governance of the future, it can be done, according to me, in 1 year. I'm a optimist. Government offices should become back offices. I have visited Shell here. Shell does $2 billion per day transactions, $2 billion. And all the $2 billion is transacted through Chennai. Around 30 people are sitting inside Chennai and transacting those $2 billion. Can you believe that? And huge government setup sitting there and making people wait. That's not acceptable. Second is it possible to work from home for government employees? Is it possible to measure productivity? It's all easy. Technologically, it's not a challenge at all. But we need to take a view on that. Politicians, bureaucrats should take a view that government can become world class. No citizen should ever visit a government office. I'm of the view that anybody visiting a government office, people should punish them. There should be a crime, not on the citizen, anybody who's asking you to come to a government office. Then the smartphone should be the front office. Today we are not even using 0.00000% of the smartphone. Let me tell you that. We're just using Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, etc. It's nothing. It's a factory out there. We are not even using a percentage of that. So it is possible to bring the entire government of Tamil Nadu into mobile app. It's possible because there are so many apps. We just need to integrate it using an API integration. Measuring productivity is something. If you're sitting at home, sitting anywhere, is your work measured? That's something which we need to do. In Kerala, we have a software called Score, and we use e-office. Entire government is on e-office. So is it not possible to link both and say, if you're keeping your files for more than 24 hours, and the AI will measure it, and it'll link it to Score, your marks will come down. It's very easy. Technologically, nothing of this is a challenge. So the question that you asked me is, what is the trajectory? The trajectory is S-governance, e-governance is passe. Forget e-governance. We have moved from e-governance to spatial governance, algo governance, and predictive governance. These are things which, is possible to do quickly. And predictive governance is where, today you go to a government office, they'll ask you, what is your name? When they do a survey, what's your father's name, your mother's name? Everything is with government. There's nothing that you, take my name, S-A-N-T-H-O-S-H. In some other government record, it will be S-A-N-T-O-S-H. Then another record, S-A-N-T-H-O-S-E. The problem with government is not lack of data, it's lack of, as you said, not having the correct data. So is it possible to have a ministry or a government or a mother department which will hold your data? But we have to have quantum security around it so that it's not, taken away. Your name, your mother's name, your father's name, your address, all those things in one. And any other government department should add only metadata. They should not be able to create a U. If there is a SANTHOSHBABU, that should be only one unique person. Identify him uniquely. Aadhaar has created that uniqueness. It's possible to do that. But today, every government department is spending tons of money creating a EU. Which is why we, in Tamil Nadu, when I was principal secretary, there was a brilliant principal secretary who created something called Makkal number, and which I tried to advance it for this particular purpose. There's a Makkal number. So, predictive governance is you don't ask, apply for anything. On your life cycle, when you need it, is it possible to give it to your vault? That's the theory of predictive governance. Because when when you're born, what do you get? You get a birth certificate. When you die, what do you get? You get a death certificate. Government does not leave you there. They will give you a legal heir certificate also. Correct? So throughout your life, government is there. And government knows exactly when you need all this. Right? So, except when you don't tell them. And you marry without telling anybody, then you let go and apply. But if you tell that, I'm 10 years now and I need a certificate, it should automatically come to your vault. Because we have today, over a period of last 20, 30 years, created so much of data. Time up. How many minutes? 5 minutes more. Okay, I'll go quickly because, so we had a file-centric system. Now we are in a data-centric system. Is it possible to go into human-centric system? That is, the legal judiciary, everybody should work for the single human being called you. Right? It was created for that only. We have created silos. So we need to move like that. In K-Smart, what we have done, and they call it Kerala Solutions for Managing Administrative Reformation and Transformation, we have moved from different applications to a microservices architecture, DevOps technology, etc. Today, and is completely in-house developed. We used very interesting project management tools like Zoho, Jira, Confluence, Mantis, etc. to ensure that we manage the timelines. And a very interesting team. I have somebody called Naufal, who's a magician with software. We have fantastic domain experts. And we create a mobile app. Everything can be done on the mobile app. It's called K-Smart. Web app is also there. 17 modules. So this was done with around 40 crores or 50 crores of rupees. I was sitting with the principal secretary of another state, and with just 3 modules, L1 was 97 crores, L2 was 187 crores. I'm just telling you, we are being fleeced by companies. We just need to create. So that's why it's so interesting. If youngsters are here, there is so much demand for Java developers and all kinds of developers, Python, etc. The world requires, at least I would say Kerala and Tamil Nadu would require around 10,000 developers each within the government to create applications, because a lot of the money is going out. Okay, I'll just go fast. Spatial technologies. You have a piece of land, what do you do with it? You'll go to the office and ask. They'll say, get lost, come back tomorrow. I have an app which you can walk around, it will tell you what exactly is the type of land, what is the building that should come up, because we put shape files of airport, high tension wire, around 6 different shape files. Interesting, I'm just putting you so that you can flag it in your mind that spatial technology with space technology, etc. is becoming frontline in governance. Decision making should happen based on what you see and not imagine. Sir knows, you're from the Navy, sir. Now you see precision because of spatial technology. So this is another app which we have developed. K-Map, somebody is building a house, or somebody is building something. Do you know whether they have a permit? We have complete data about that, and you can just look at it and see whether it's fast track your bill. We do it in 3 seconds. We have issued 99,000 certificates. The point I'm trying to say is not about our prowess. The point I'm trying to say is that we can do things at a very low cost, effectively, within our budgets right now, and create these kinds of structures. So we created this. This is basically AI. We create an EDCR rule engine and a GIS rule engine. Marriages, as I said, property tax, 11,000 crores have gone through my app till today morning. Public grievances, smart trans, the contractors run around the government offices, right? Here today we have a system, and the secretary of the Panchayat clicks, the money will go to him. If the money is there, that's the only problem. Then meeting management. Is it possible for somebody sitting in America to participate in your Grama Sabha? So that's the meeting management module that we're creating. So we went live on 1/1/2024 and 1/4/2025 for all the local bodies. Entire Kerala runs on K-Smart. We have a dashboard for public. You can see, anybody can see whose file is at, who is handling it for how many seconds, how many minutes, how many days, how many hours, etc. Very interesting. A lot of technology is being used. So technology is not the issue. Leadership is. We also create a AI-powered call center. Interesting. As Sir said, Kunal said, what is about the algorithmic, what is it called? Bias. Bias will happen because the algorithm is not fed. You keep on feeding. So the last 20, 30, 40 years of data has created a level where you can have some kind of accuracy. But 100% accuracy will happen when you keep on feeding it. But the danger to this is when you create an algorithm purposely. For example, by surnames, if you can remove people coming for appointments. It's possible to create something like that, no? So these are things which we need to be careful about. And you know, see, look at this. How fast? Time is of essence. 1 minute, fastest birth certificate, fastest death certificate, fastest. It's actually very, very easy to do this. We should not be in silos. The government departments are all in silos. Government executive, judiciary, and the other organ. We are all in silos. We are providing now 691 these things. Around 20% of these certificates have been 1 crore 20 lakh files have been cleared in the last 2 years. And we give certificates like this. This is another ERP that we created for the entire Kerala, case suit. Single platform, a lot of technologies. Now, because youngsters are here, you're all sitting on huge data sets. That's a huge possibility. Then, what is it? Can startups work on this data? Can we anonymize data and give to the startups? Yes, we can. I'm sitting on trillions of dollars. I'm working currently to see KSmart as a public digital good and see whether you can create products, processes, and patents on it. Yeah. So the other thing which I'm doing is K-phone, connecting people. You know, the important thing to understand here is that if you have robust connectivity, I'm running an ISP. I have 160,000 customers called Kerala Fiber Optic Network, 32,000 kilometers network, largest, tribals and all connected at homes with fiber. The important thing which I want to tell, which Murali sir has said, post-quantum cryptography. These are areas, if you are interested in as engineers, STEM people, it'll be interesting. Quantum key distribution, because you know 0 and 1. 0 and 1 are the bits. Now we'll have something called qubits. Qubits are millions, and if it's a very, very layered technology. Now, what are the companies doing? They're all waiting. They're harvesting your data to decrypt it when quantum comes. So be careful. That's what Sir said. Your digital signages, digital signatures are all going to go away. Be careful. And crypto agility is when the cryptography comes, quantum cryptography comes, and you should be able to adapt to it quickly. Now, why I'm saying it very fast is, this is something which you will become household name in a few years. In next 3-4 years, quantum security is something which will become a household name. Be prepared, because the moment quantum security comes, your passwords are all gone. Everything will be public. So be careful with what you're communicating with. Areas of focus, government should concentrate on cybersecurity, AI, ML, blockchain. It's a wonderful technology. I have used that. Internet of everything. Internet of things is gone. Internet of everything is. Then spatial technologies, AR and VR. We should, in the government, create centers of excellence within government, within departments. And we should ensure that young things like all of you come into the government, because you have the engineering-based skill sets, mathematics, etc. We need to create this talent pool within government. I am saying again, within government. So that's all I want to say. It's a positive outlook. Data, it's all about data beta is what I would say. Data is everything. Your data is going out, my data is going out, everybody's data. Don't be worried about it. It should not be worrying. We should try to create systems over it. As he said, you know, today youngsters can thrive on data. You can thrive on data. But again, be careful. On the flip side, there are, you know, people waiting to capture those data. But we can always be one step ahead if you are very careful. So I have that much only to say because of the time constraint, but I'm extremely happy back in Namma Chennai, and எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச ஊரு. I have spent my 25 years, my bread and butter has come from Tamil Nadu. My whatever little name I have has come from Tamil Nadu. I'm eternally grateful to Tamil Nadu and my people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was really a wonderful presentation, and that is literally seeing our future in front of us, if governance can become like that. I just wanted to really end, which is really refreshing, is that you still have a Yahoo account. But thank you everyone for patiently sitting through this 1.5 hours. We intended to have a Q&A session, and I'm sure there are many that would have had questions, but we've completely run out of time. There's another panel and panelists I'm waiting for, and if you have patience, maybe you can address those questions at the end of that session. Yes, we can take questions offline right after this panel. Sure.
me suggest something. Keep the questions coming, and I will volunteer to answer them. Online.
Online. There you go. Keep your questions coming, and you can get them answered online. So maybe we could work on that. Maybe we could work on that. Okay. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a bigger round of applause for our panelists and our moderator for beautifully articulating it. Thank you very much for your insights. And thank you, sir, for that presentation. It was mind-boggling. I think everybody would agree to the fact that the way you presented this, because of the time constraint, but every topic could have been... Yes, thank you. So every topic that was discussed here, I think because of the time constraint, we had to limit it, but thank you very much for opening our eyes there. Thank you. Please stay back. At this moment, I would request Mr. Rajesh Menon, the Senior General Manager, Advertising Sales, the Hindu Group, to kindly come up on the stage and to felicitate our panelists and our moderator. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move into our second session for this evening, we shift our focus from the internal mechanics of technology to the broader and more complex landscapes of global relations. We are living in an era which is defined as geopolitical uncertainty, a time where shifting alliances, economic fluctuations, national security concerns directly impact national policy and, by extension, our future careers. Understanding this landscape is a vital role for all of us. To help us navigate these complexities, we are joined by the panel of extraordinary depth, featuring voices from the highest echelons of India's defense forces and the forefront of international journalism. The topic for the second session is policy frameworks in times of geopolitical uncertainty. And it is an honor to introduce our panelists for the second session. We have with us Air Marshal M. Madheshwaran. He is the AVSM VM and a distinguished Indian Air Force veteran with nearly 40 years of services, including as Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff. A highly experienced fighter and test pilot, he has contributed significantly to defense strategy, aerospace development, and national security policy. He is the founder chairman of the Peninsular Foundation and a respected expert in strategic and security affairs. Welcome to the panel, sir. We have with us Commodore R.S. Vasan. He is a distinguished naval veteran with over 34 years of service in the Indian Navy and Coast Guard. He has held key commands and operational roles, including Regional Commander of the Indian Coast Guard in East. He is an expert in maritime security and strategic affairs. He currently serves as Director General of the Chennai Center for China Studies and Regional Director of the National Maritime Foundation. So can we have you? Please give a bigger round of applause as he walks to the stage. Welcome to the panel, sir. Please. Thank you. We have with us somebody I look up to. Miss Nayanima Basu, she is an accomplished journalist and an author specializing in geopolitics, in diplomacy and national security. With over 20 years of experience, she contributes to leading platforms like Star News Global, ABP News and CNBC TV 18, and is an adjunct fellow at Gateway House. She is the author of the award-winning book, The Fall of Kabul, based on her first-hand reporting during the 2021 Afghan crisis. Please put your hands together as she walks up to the stage. Welcome to the panel, ma'am. Now it's time to introduce our moderator for this session. We have Dr. Stanley Johnny, International Affairs Editor, The Hindu. Please put your hands together for him. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Air Marshal, Commodore Vasan, Nayanima. It's great to be here, and great to be here to discuss, what is happening in the world, because we are living in a very interesting time. Every day something else is happening, something new is happening, something big is happening. This morning, everybody was waiting for what Donald Trump was going to say in the United States. I go back home pretty late after sending the edition, and I had to wake up in the morning to see whether he was going to send ground troops or he was going to declare victory. We are living in constant news cycles. The war, which he started on February 28th, is now, today I think this is the 35th day of the war. In Europe, the Ukraine war has been going on for more than 4 years. And Trump also brought in a lot of disruptions with his trade and tariff policies. And in West Asia, if you look at West Asia, Israel has been bombing a lot of countries for the last 30 months. And then you are also seeing a rapid rise of China here in East Asia. India is also growing to become, it is already one of the fastest growing major economies from an economic point of view. It is also growing fast. So the world order is also changing, the old order. Everybody says, even Marco Rubio says that the old global order doesn't exist anymore. So there are a lot of things to understand, especially in today's context. So I will start with you, Sir Matisharan sir. If we look at, let's look at the Iran conflict first, because this is happening in India's neighborhood. West Asia, we used to say that West Asia is India's extended neighborhood, but if you look at Iran, Iran is actually India's neighbor. From India's western coast, it's not very far. And this war is taking place in India's neighborhood, and this will have enormous impact on India, on energy security, on our connectivity policies towards Central Asia. Especially we are part of the North-South Transport, International North-South Transport Corridor. So this is going to have long-lasting implications for India's economic rise, energy stability, a lot of things. So how do you look at the conflict how do you look at the conflict unfolding in India's neighborhood?
I'll take a moment here, please, apologies. All our dear friends, we request you all to kindly maintain silence. This also is a vital part of our discussion. So all our students here who are here with us, please maintain silence. Thank you. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Stanley, and I thank Hindu and SRM for this excellent panel that you put together. We are in a very interesting time. This is a time of massive geopolitical turbulence. And what we actually need to look at is it has massive implications for India. We mentioned about India's energy security, and 85% of our oil comes from outside, and majority from the Gulf. Our LPG dependency from Qatar is almost similar, 80%. And therefore, it's of a vital importance for India's long-term energy security. But we need to understand the larger issue. This turbulence is it's begun with the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war is where Russia has been provoked to invade Ukraine, and the whole pattern has been set there. And then you have Trump coming up in the second term, and we all must remember that the Heritage Foundation, which is a deeply conservative, Republican-oriented think tank, 50-year-old think tank in the US, did, during the Biden term, did a study on governance 2025, how US governance to be transformed. And much of all that, although Trump during his electioneering said he's not fully aligned with it, but much of what has been implemented in this last 1.5 years, almost a year plus, is 50% of all those recommendations are already in place. That's one. And the objective is quite clear because the world has come up. China is a peer competitor to the US, and the US as a hegemon is now looking at the control over dollar as a reserve currency is slipping away, control over energy security is slipping away, and therefore much of the strategies that they've devised over the last 10 years is being played out. There was a General Clark's interview sometime in 2008, if you all had seen that in YouTube. He says, from 1991, you see the Wolfowitz Doctrine, which is the neocon doctrine, was set out in 1991. The first Gulf War was implemented at that point of time. The idea is that the US will re-establish complete control on global energy processes. So if we now look at what has happened in the last 5 years, the Ukraine war was to cut off Russia from Europe completely, and the Nord Stream has been knocked off. And Europe now shifts to US on depending for energy supply, much of the LNG as well as the petroleum. Second is now in the second term, Venezuela, which holds the largest petroleum reserves on earth, is now under the US control. Right? So Venezuela was trading in non-dollar trading, and that has now come back to dollar trading. And now, prior to this, you've had Syria has oil field which is under American control. The Iraq war of 2003 has brought Iraq reserves completely under American supervision. Libya has been knocked off, and Libyan oil is under American supervision as well. And now, China's growth, which depends on energy security from outside energy supplies to the extent of 85-90%, is now under somewhat threat. And the whole purpose of attack on Iran is to destabilize the region, bring the energy supplies from the Persian Gulf, even if it is knocked off, delayed, and disrupted, US will be happy because US today is the largest producer of petroleum. Today, it's the number one producer. The number one producer of LNG as well. And now it will dictate terms to the rest of the world where the petrodollar pattern comes back fully in play, and it will dictate the terms of how others will depend on it for energy supplies. So India will now have to think much more deeply, because if you go by the Indo-US trade getting terms dictated by the US, your fertilizer supplies will get impacted. And that will impact on our agriculture. The Americans are already making a lot of noise on opening up our agriculture sector to them. And you see the complex interactions that are taking place, the pressure that will come on India. We need to work very carefully on how we are going to follow a strategy of multi-alignment, keep very cautiously deal with the US, be wary of the US, and then how we evolve a strategy on this entire process. I think we are not doing a very correct thing by shifting a lot of technology dependency on the US. I think we need to diversify that and get back to that control away from the US as well. So this is what I think I'll stop here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You talked about what's happening in this region. Saddam Hussein is gone. Gaddafi is gone. Bashar al-Assad is gone. So Iran is the last country standing, and now Iran is being pounded.
In fact, just one intervention I'll do that here. It is also about China's BRI. and the Russia's north-south corridor.
Yeah.
The two actually intersect in Iran, in the north of Iran. And the whole potential of this entire process was to convert, you see, the geopolitical pivot of what Mackinder pointed out earlier, Eurasia is the geopolitical pivot. And the whole process will transform into Eurasian economic zone, Sino-centric economic zone.
Yeah.
This is also an objective of the US to disrupt that port.
Yeah.
So if Iran falls, this gets affected.
Commodore, sir. So, I mean, Air Marshal talked about the disruptions the conflict is causing in the global energy market. Let's look at the other disruption, which is Donald Trump himself and his policies. When Trump came to power, when his second presidency started, one of his signature policies was to impose tariffs on countries across the world. And India was one of the countries that was hit very badly. So eventually he put 50% tariffs on India. And then we signed an agreement, trade agreement. I mean, that's a different matter. But still, India was hit hard by Trump's tariff policies. Not just India. Across the world, even America's closest allies were affected. So how do you look at, how do you make sense of Trump's policy and the impact this is having on the global economic landscape? Because I am asking this because when I was growing up, everybody was talking about globalization. We are living in a global village. No borders. Everybody can travel. Capital can travel. People can travel. Investments come and go. Is globalization dead? Is that era over? So what does this policy of tariffs tell us about the global community?
Thank you, Dr. Stanley. First of all, thanks to Hindu and SRM for getting us all here. It's been a very interesting discussion in the first panel because I see a lot of youngsters and the points that came out, talk about digital governance and the future of India, which will be driven by AI and various other aspects. Now, coming to this particular question, while posing the question to Air Marshal Matheswaran, you made one point about the neighborhood of India. We said, West Asia. But these are nomenclatures which are colonial past. West Asia, Far East, Southeast Asia. Was all this with respect to the London and not exactly with respect to India. So we need to, first of all, understand that we are here and, these are our neighbors, including ASEAN countries who are our neighbors. And Nepal, Bhutan, West Asia, which we call West Asia today. All these are people who are our neighbors, culturally, historically, in terms of trade, transactions, they always will be with us. So we need to first change the mindset about how far are they geographically. You can go back to Mackinder and look at it, but the point is that they are our neighbors and we need to deal with this. There's one indirect point which came about remittances. The maximum remittances are coming from Gulf. So therefore, we need to be interested in protecting these people there by whatever means which are available. So this is the point. So coming back to your question about tariffs, you asked whether, what are these policies? Even Trump is not clear about these policies. So I don't think we will be in a position to define what his policies are. So that notwithstanding, there's a lot of relevance of what Air Marshal Matheswaran brought out about control of energy. This happened earlier. When the Suez issue came about back in '56, and where, this was again about oil diplomacy and ensuring that the petrodollar, which is the important aspect of global governance, was something that was protected by America. Even today, all these actions indirectly, if you link them up, is about regaining the supremacy of America in terms of being in control of energy products, whether it's LNG, whether it's Venezuela, which can be processed there or whatever. But in all these discussions, we have always maintained. In fact, Air Marshal Matheswaran himself, we did a conference in Guru Nanak College just a few days ago. We said, all these discussions must revolve around what India can do. Otherwise, it's meaningless. So, do we have our bearings right? What are these global headwinds that we are looking at? Are we in a position to navigate through them in a manner that helps us in the long and the short term? From that point of view, when you look at some of this, put aside the tariffs, we did bring it down to 15% or 18%, but there's no guarantee that it will not again go back to 30% for some other reason. So same Trump who said you cannot buy Russian oil, today says you can go ahead and get those oil brands. So
you can even buy Iranian oil today.
Yes, yeah. You can buy Iranian oil also. And he says, so there is no question of continuity in the policies of Trump when it comes to global governance, and he's facing a lot of flack back home, no kings and all these things that are going on. But coming back to India, what is it that we can do? By and large, we are steered fairly well. It's an opportunity. Everybody tells you a crisis is an opportunity. We hear that very often, and we think that, we're in a position to change this crisis or convert crises into opportunity. But here are examples where we've done it well. Look at the number of people where we diversified for energy sources. From 20, it's gone to 41. Right? And so that is a welcome sign. And there are only 5 countries which have been allowed by Iran to bring their ships here, including Pakistan, China, whatever. That means we've been able to protect our energy security parameters. So that tells you perhaps your foreign policy, though it can come in for a lot of criticism, we are doing fairly well on that count in terms of protecting our national interests and long-term interests. The LNG production domestically went up by 18%. Why did it go up? Somebody kicked you and therefore, that means you could have also done it earlier, right? So therefore, these long-term policies that we are looking at is something that we need to constantly look at. Now, there are also issues about, are we doing right? Who are the middle powers? Are they in a position to take on the challenge of tariffs? By and large, if you carry out a thorough analysis, you'll find that India, Australia, Japan, some of the other middle powers have been able to manage this tariff war. That is by diversification. We did not say we'll go to US always. And people have been wise, and they're looking at China +1. Now others are looking at India +1. So therefore, we are also in the loop, which is an important aspect. So coming back to this point of tariffs, we should not be unduly worried about a tariff. I think we have fairly protected our interests by diversifying our resources, by reaching out to multiple players, and also looking at the minilaterals. We are in the chair of BRICS this time. We are going to be the chair, and there is some foreign ministers meeting that's going to take place. So these are signals that will be sent to America to say we are not totally dependent on you. That's a message that even Trump understands. So this is where, it is this dynamism of what we continue to refer to as strategic autonomy. We swear by strategic autonomy. And it's good that it has yielded certain results, because whenever it's convenient to say, well, we are neutral, we are sitting on the fence. Sitting on the fence is also a policy, right? It's something that we say that, okay, we are sitting here, we are not this side, we are not that side. We are not supporting Iraq, we are not supporting Iran, we are not supporting USA. So this is something where I think the External Affairs Minister and the President government have a big task on hand to navigate through these challenges, of foreign policy aspirations. And so tariff is, I would say, it's almost behind us, notwithstanding the Trump's threat to increase it one day to 50 or 100 or whatever. But with the global challenges which are there, particularly in terms of energy security, in terms of fertilizer security, people do not realize that we require fertilizers, and that's a byproduct of what comes out of the petroleum products. And likewise helium, which is required for semiconductor industry. So, these are things that where I think the government is in total control of what challenges there are because of the present controversies that are taking place, the developing situation which is there. So we have managed it well, but it doesn't mean that you rest on your laurels. There is plenty of work to do, and it's phenomenal. The way ahead is treacherous, and therefore, while we are looking at tariffs, we are looking at various other options of reaching out and diversifying our supply chain initiatives. A resilient supply chain initiative is what we kept on saying. So you need to be looking at diverse sources, who can protect you in the long run. So this is where, maybe I'll come back later, but this is where I think it's important to understand the role of organizations, the BRICS, the G20, the G7, right, where you're also an observer. Yeah. But the point is that your voice is heard. You are the voice of the global south. And therefore, you are in a position to steer and take this entire people along. The G20 total would come to something like 85% of the total global GDP, if you put it all together. So that is your strength. So that strength has to be converted into your voice for global management and governance. Thank you. I'll stop here.
I want to come back to you about the institutions, these multilateral institutions. But before that, Nima, so you've been covering India's foreign policy for quite some time. And by the way, I mean, this is an excellent panel. You have two military men and then two journalists. I mean, it's a very good combo. So Nainima and we go back a long time. We worked together in Delhi Business Standard. So, you were in Kabul when the Taliban came to power. I was also closely following the developments in Afghanistan, but sitting in Chennai. But you were on the ground, and we were following your reports. You saw the change from the ground in Afghanistan. And if you look at India's neighborhood in the last few years, there were dramatic developments in India's neighborhood. Okay, there were massive protests in Sri Lanka, and then, but Sri Lanka, you at least saw an orderly transition. And in Bangladesh, you saw the fall of Sheikh Hasina, and then now you had an election now, but in between you had an unelected government in between, the special advisor's government. Nepal, you witnessed protests in Nepal. Afghanistan, the Taliban returned to power after 20 years. And interestingly, India is now seeking to improve ties with the Taliban government in Afghanistan. And you also see that Pakistan is now playing basically a very interesting role in the region. You look at West Asia. They have a strategic agreement with Saudi Arabia, strategic defense partnership with Saudi Arabia, and they are also trying to mediate between the Americans and the Iranians. So when you look at India's neighborhood and the challenges India is facing in India's neighborhood, how do you assess India's response to these multiple challenges in our neighborhood? And what do you think India should do to continue to navigate these challenges, foreign policy challenges?
Thank you, Stanley. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And we, of course, learn a lot from the pieces that you write. And thank you, Hindu and SRM University. Quite an honor for me to be part of this esteemed panel. Coming to your question and coming to neighborhood, I think India's foreign policy now is staring at the biggest challenge is how to manage the neighborhood. And by neighborhood, I mean the immediate neighborhood. And then I'll go beyond, of course, which includes Iran and others. Now, having been in Afghanistan, but before that, we also had a Myanmar, where the coup happened, right, in February 2021. That time, India was a little taken aback because we were at that time backing the Aung San Suu Kyi NLD government, and we thought democracy is back in Myanmar, but that was not the thing. And then, of course, Afghanistan happened even at that time, and I was there on the ground, so I saw firsthand how I would be, I'm a journalist, so I would be a little critical, and so my words may not appease you, but the truth is that. I was there in Afghanistan, then I saw how unprepared the government was to even think that the Taliban would be back. For some reason, till 15th of August, we were having this dream that the Ashraf Ghani government, which was that time the Republic government, will be in power and there'll be some power sharing deal with Taliban. Whereas the ground was completely different. The Taliban was winning provinces after provinces, and that was really the reality once the US troops started leaving. So that was one. I was also in Bangladesh twice after Sheikh Hasina came back in 2024, and recently when the elections happened. Then, of course, I was in Sri Lanka. So the point is, today, somewhere down the line, what I realize is our neighborhood has changed a lot, which we have somewhat witnessed and somewhat we have failed to recognize. For some reason, we keep on going back to the old books, what had been our old practice. We refuse to change. We refuse to understand that there is a very new generation coming up in our neighborhood. I will not use terms, American terms like Gen Z and all, but this is a very vibrant young population, which is there in Bangladesh, which is there in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka, also in Pakistan, and I've been there also as well. The point is today, if you are trying to be the leader of so-called Global South, you want to be a permanent member at the UN Security Council, then you need to take up certain responsibilities, is what I believe. And I have seen we've done that in the past. We keep on doing it, but somewhere now we have become so, probably a little constrained with national security challenges. Everything today comes under national security is a little baffling to me because the neighborhood really looks up to you. They expect India to help. Even when I was in Afghanistan, so many people said that, if India helps us, we can fight the Taliban. Maybe we couldn't have, but then they had that hopes, right? Afghan youth even today wants to come to India and do their higher studies. But what we did in the immediate aftermath of the Taliban coming back, we revoked all the visas of the students who were supposed to come and join some of the universities across India. We never gave them those admissions and they lost their academic years. So while this might look like a small step, again, in the name of national security, it really dented our image. I'll also give an example, let's say Bangladesh. Now, what had happened there, yes, you had a very supportive Sheikh Hasina Awami League government, but at the same time, you also had other very prominent parties and stakeholders, not just BNP, there was also a Jamaat-e-Islami, and this time we saw, and I saw firsthand how the Jamaat-e-Islami has made a resurgence there amongst the youth. In Nepal, also, you failed to reach out to the youth. So, somewhere down the line, I think we need to think innovatively to understand why we are losing grip in our neighborhood. The sad part is whenever I go there, there is this kind of anti-India sentiment that hits me all the time. If you talk to them, they'll come up with various reasons, but I think somewhere we need to also act and reach out to them and tell them, okay, you don't have to act like a big brother, but then you should always be there to help them. And also I think when it comes to neighborhood, we need to understand that doing certain projects or just helping them, giving them some medical kits, medicines here and there, injections will not help you. Yeah. Let's say, for example, now we are seeing the kind of raging conflict going on between Pakistan and Afghanistan. We are so engrossed in the Iran war, of course that has created a lot of trouble. We are refusing to see what the Taliban is actually asking from you. And here you have a Taliban whom you allowed 3 of their ministers to come into Delhi. You even allowed the foreign minister of Taliban to go into Deoband all the way and, meet all his, his teachers and preachers there. So if you have such deep links with Taliban, which is very good, and I've written that in my book as well, that yes, whoever comes to power, you have to accept it. So now when they're asking you to again build those hospitals, the drug rehabilitation center, which apparently Pakistan bombed, yeah. Why is it that we are shying away? Why are we again only sending those medicinal kits and constantly labeling on it, this is by India? They know this is by India. You don't have to shove it on their faces. So that's one. And also I think we need to understand that how you need to reach out to everybody in the neighborhood. Yeah. You cannot get scared every time a Bangladesh speaks to China or an Afghanistan goes out and reaches out. You have your book on the mullah meeting the Chinese minister. Why do we get scared? Why are we not able to leverage our own position? Now, today we are going to we are the chairperson and the chair for BRICS. What is stopping us in bringing all these stakeholders together in some or the other innovative way? Look at Pakistan. You might laugh at them that they are not able to do something, but they are actually doing something at least, right? I'm not comparing us with Pakistan, but then we have much more powerful image and agency to go ahead and tell both Iran and Israel, which Pakistan eventually cannot do. Pakistan has very bad ties with Israel. They don't speak, so how can they mediate? Yeah. Whereas India has a good ties with Iran as well as with US and with Israel. Why is it that we cannot actually practice dialogue and diplomacy, which Prime Minister says? And yes, we believe in that. Why can't we practice that? So these are my initial points.
Thanks, Naima. So, Marshall, back to you. So from India's neighborhood, let's look at the global system. Because, the running thing, the hottest theme in the debates about international relations today is that the global order is changing. Because we are witnessing a lot of conflicts across the world. When I talk about global order, what we really refer to is that after the end of the Cold War, there was this US-centered unipolar global order. The United States was it is still the most powerful country. But now, we are witnessing a lot of conflicts. We are also witnessing the rise of multiple powers, Russia on the one side, China on the other side, and then middle powers like India. So, what is actually happening to the global order? Can you explain it to us?
Absolutely. It's a very interesting question. Like I said, we are in a global geopolitical turbulence. And this is also what I call as the power transition moment. So, no superpower or a hegemon remains at the peak forever. History always tells you that all empires fall down. There's a reason for that. You can't be a superpower or a hegemon of the global system without accepting responsibility for paying for global public goods. That's a cost. But there is a beneficial cost to it. While you're maintaining global order, peace, and you're also bringing in your currency as a reserve currency, you're also benefiting from the privileges of everybody else underwriting your loans, right? So the US did well by restructuring the global order after 1945 and then built the world order quite well. You had the Cold War ideological differences. The Soviet Union also did its, executed its responsibilities as a superpower. I mean, much of the liberation movements in Africa, etc., anti-colonial movements were supported by Soviet Union, not the other way around, correct? So as you went along, every empire then ends up in what Paul Kennedy famously calls it as a strategic overstretch. The Soviet Union did that by mismanaging its economic growth and military power, and therefore it collapsed internally. The Americans didn't win the Cold War. It was the Soviet Union that collapsed on its own, right? And that gave an opportunity for American hardliners and conservatives, what we call them as neocons, to take control. Because they learn a lot from the Roman Empire, the Western countries, and they want to replicate how Roman Empire behaved when it had the power. So the neocons, Wolfowitz doctrine is that use military power to establish complete dominance over the global system. And that's the first mistake the Americans are making. But empires always don't learn from that previous mistakes, and they carry on extending there. So today the US has a debt of $40 trillion. The US GDP is $29 trillion as of today, $30 trillion, right? It's beyond, every year it pays interest servicing of $1.2 trillion. Its military budget is $1.5 trillion when you put together the military itself and the homeland security together, right? 800 bases across the world. So as empires now go beyond a certain stage, it is financially not possible to sustain this kind of an expenditure. And therefore, it now does the last gasp of strategic overstretch. And this is what is happening right now. So it wants the energy to be controlled. It will flow into its control, and the whole energy is the lifeline of all countries, right? Yeah. When you control that, then you will control trade, you will control a whole lot of things. Second, it will put the the Chinese and the Russians under control. It will put India also under control as per their strategy. That is one. Second is the dollar. When you now have energy trade in your control, you're forcing the petrodollar system back again to some extent, right? And that will service its printing and servicing its domestic debt as well. So this is the implication. Behind this, as Commodore Watson pointed out, the helium, all these things are getting disrupted from the Persian Gulf. The objective in my analysis is to disrupt the Persian Gulf stability of petroleum. They want, if you see a CIA study of 2001, the objective was already laid out at that point of time that much of the problems emanate from the Gulf countries because they have surplus of money coming from their petroleum trade. Yeah. And this needs to be downsized. It's a long-term plan. And this is coming back into play. So if petroleum, the Gulf countries are downsized, you have the US now re-establishing its hegemony strongly. And the fallout of the helium control and other parts of the petroleum issue is that the semiconductor industry will come back to US control. That is the intention. So China will get affected to some extent. Russia will get affected to some extent. But much of all this, the Chinese are already thinking about it. They are masters in strategy. And they are working out on alternate strategies. So when you look at power transition theory, this is a conflict moment. The US might gain to some extent from this Iran conflict, but the Chinese are not going to give up on their BRI. And the Russians are not going to give up on the North-South corridor. And all this will play out in a massive economic conflict that will rise maybe over the next 20 years. And the US ultimately, because of this overstretch, will go down. It will have to come to a point where it has to accept multipolar system as the only solution. It will have to recognize everybody else. This is where India comes in. We want a multipolar world order. We don't want a unipolar world at all. Nobody likes a unipolar world, right? And if you want a multipolar world order, like what Nanita said, it's time now we step up and take the responsibility of paying public goods in the world order. That will cost us money, but we need to be strong to do that. For that, we have to build our technological capabilities. Your military, if it is dependent very largely on imported hardware, then there's a problem. So we have technical achievements and capabilities. We have the nuclear deterrence, we have space capabilities. But I think in the industrial side and military hardware side, we are still dependent on critical technologies to some extent on external sources. While we are managing that by diversifying, our research and development needs to address that part effectively. Yeah. If we don't do that, then we will actually be playing a passive role. So I think the Indian approach, while we are hedging right now, we need to step up a little more strongly and move ahead to take a stronger position and demand the movement towards multipolar order. Yeah. This is where we need to deal with the US, correct?
Thank you, sir. So multipolarity is the future and it should guide India's foreign policy choices. Commodore, so you referred to the multilateral organizations in your last comment. And it's very interesting that India is part of BRICS. India is also part of SCO. India is one of the members of Quad. So we have a footprint everywhere. And when you look at BRICS, Iran is a BRICS member. And India is part of I2U2, where Israel and the UAE are part of. And India has signed up for IMAC corridor, which hasn't taken off, but still. And that involves Arab countries, Israel, and Europe, and the United States. You see? I mean, how do you place India's foreign policy calculus in this? I mean, is this what we call multi-alignment? But it also comes with a lot of inherent contradictions. So how do you make sense of it?
I think it's a very, very interesting question because, it's very difficult to understand the position that we are in. It's a precarious position. You are part of BRICS, but you also have Iran, you have Iraq. Will they be in a position to come to the table? Will you be able to manage the differences that they have? It is indeed a great challenge for India. But I think by and large, going by our past experience, we have managed to, somehow ruffle these feathers as and when required and get the best out of it. So the people do listen out to India. And we, as far as neighborhood is concerned, the point that was brought out by the other panelists, it's important to understand that India has always been the first responder. So geography. It's finally about geography, and therefore the proximity to, Maldives, Bangladesh, whoever there is, whoever has a difficulty, we are the first to run there. So there is a certain amount of, credibility in what India tries to do in its neighborhood, whether it's $4 billion that was going to Sri Lanka or the fuel that we sent recently, now. Well, not long ago, we have sent it there. So there is a voice of India that's being recognized globally. That gives us the heft to be able to manage these multinational minilaterals wherever we are and try and see whether we can take advantage of this and serve our long-term interests. For that, I entirely agree with Air Marshal Mateshwar when he says you have to put money where the mouth is. But there we are limited. Though we are the strongest economy today and the fastest growing economy, even with all these disruptions that are taking place, apparently we'll still grow at 5.5 or 6, which is very good. But to catch up to the size of China, which is 5 times or 6 times of our GDP, is something that will take us at least 2 to 3 decades. So we're talking about Viksit 2047. So 2047, Viksit Bharat, whatever we say, by the time if it will be a $30 trillion, all these multilaterals and minilaterals are of help. Because it's not only to diversify, for you to be able to invest in these countries, to have contacts at the geographic level, to ensure that the inner periphery is protected, that I'm talking about to the immediate neighborhood, because you have said neighborhood first. And then the extended periphery, which includes Mauritius, Madagascar, and ASEAN countries. So they are in the extended periphery. So we have no choice but to be part of all these organizations. Though there are challenges in managing some of the contradictions that are inherent in the very structure of these organizations. So therefore, BRICS, let's see how we come out of BRICS this time. the foreign ministers meeting is taking place. So we should use this as an opportunity to move away from USA. I'm sure all of them are equally committed to ensuring that we diversify our investments, our opportunities, etc. Another point which is important is about our technological capability. So while there is a phenomenal amount of success they have achieved in space, nuclear technology, etc., even today we are not there. It's very simple. We should acknowledge this first. After I think this point came out in another presentation made some time ago, that of the 11 Navik satellites, only 3 are functional. No, therefore, if the GPS is taken away today, you have no means of even striking your enemy. So therefore, some of these which are so critical for our survival, very survival and progress, are the areas, critical technology in which we need to invest. So the R&D is 0.7% of our GDP. No, so when you compare it with others which are 2.5%, 3%, 4%, we are nowhere. So this is where I think our course corrections have to be there in terms of, one, spending more on R&D, two, using these multilateral, unilateral organizations which are there for our own progress, and having long-term plans that India steers. India should be in the driver's seat in these organizations to say that this is the path that we are going to take in the next 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nainima, one last simple question. Again, we started with Iran. I go back to Iran and India. So when we talk about India's foreign policy, the general agreement among the strategic community is that India has to maintain its neutrality unless our interests are directly affected. Especially when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. In the Ukraine war, India's neutrality basically was praised. India, at least initially, stood up to pressure from the United States. So Iran has been a long-term partner. Iran is a country that had supported India's policy on Kashmir, interestingly. The only country, for example, at OIC, we know the history. It is also a very important gateway to Central Asia. We are building a port. We built a port in Iran. So do you think India's response to the war on Iran actually was, how do I put it? Did India, or let's put it this way, did India reassert its neutrality, or India is seen partisan to one of the actors in the conflict when you look at India's response to the conflict?
Well, yes, that's the most difficult question. But again, I'll link it to your previous question that we are part of IMEC, we are part of I2U2. We are a very big player in BRICS, right? And of course, Iran had been one of our very important strategic partners. At one point, we'd been considering Iran as our neighborhood, after the immediate neighborhood. And of course, we play a very significant part in West Asia or Middle East, whichever way you call it. But end of the day, we must also realize that we had at one point been looking at Iran as one of our strategic partners by building the Chabahar port there, which was a counter to the Gwadar port that China had built in Pakistan. So they had given us that land. They had also given us the Farzad B gas field, and I'm sure you know that history, how we just dragged our feet there. We were the ones who discovered gas there, but then we did not move, and of course, I think that went to China. Now, end of the day, today, again, there is this crisis that has happened, which I believe India can turn into an opportunity, but we are not really playing the role we should have played. I do not know what do you mean by neutrality, but to me, the neutrality would have been where you would have serious discussions with Iran, with US, and with Israel. With the very fact that this is a clear stance we have taken, like all other countries have taken, that no, this war is an illegal war that the US has waged on Iran. This was uncalled for. This was only Israel's plan to give into some shape of their greater Israel plan. And I'm sorry India is not part of it, but yes, since we all are partners, we can work together. We did not take that stance. For some reason, we have not. Also, when you see a hegemon, as Sir had said, gone inside a country, killed and assassinated a leader, somebody that you did not like, does not mean that you will remain silent. India, being this largest democracy, should have said that this is not accepted, as simple as that. Yes, but then we are, of course, US is our partner, important partner. We need to again work together. But if you today remain silent, then that means you are setting a precedence. and this is not really the Russia-Ukraine war dynamics. That dynamics was very different. That time, I mean, of course, in that war, NATO was a very big player. There were those Minsk agreements which were not, honored. But over here, this is your immediate, neighbor. Also, the incident that had happened on the international waters with the Iranian ship. At that time, you said, okay, this was international waters. But end of the day, it was your guest. So, okay, you thought that is, and you did not know that a US nuclear submarine was lurking in the seas, and we did not know. So, I do not know how these equations come into being, but talking about neutrality, neutrality can be played also by raising your voice, calling an illegal war, as simple as that.
Thanks, Nayanima. So war itself is bad. War itself is bad. But even when you wage war, there are laws of war. You don't go into a country and assassinate the head of the state. And you don't publicly threaten to bomb the civilian infrastructure, the desalination plants, etc., etc. But unfortunately, that's what is happening now. So we have 10 minutes for questions, right? So I will open the floor. So if you have questions, we can collect maybe 2 or 3 questions to the panelists. Just mention who you are asking the question to and then shoot.
You mentioned about the US trying to control the energy part of it. Of late, the last few days, you are seeing Russian facilities, oil facilities being bombarded by Ukraine drones. Is it the Ukraine drones or is it the US drones that is planning to do to destabilize the energy supplies? That is one part. Second would be, you mentioned that US want to destabilize China's supplies by hitting the Persian Gulf as well as Russia's. But with Russia and China being neighbors and China needs Russia's oil, will the energy security be entirely different for them among themselves?
Shall we take 2 more or one by? How do we? So you want to answer, please? Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. If Russian supplies, Russia is one of the largest oil producers, and if the Russian oil supply capability into the market gets disrupted or reduced, the US is the gainer as well. And therefore, the attacks by Ukraine on Russian oil facilities is NATO-backed as well. While Trump is saying we'll walk out of NATO and all that talk goes on, you still cannot rule out the American indirect support for NATO, what it's providing. And NATO is led by the US anyway. That's one part. But notwithstanding that, the Chinese have already established strong linkages with the Russian oil supply chain. And therefore, that's going to be a major security issue for the Chinese. And second, there is also an issue of Arctic Channel in terms of not only resources, but the oil energy supply route through the Arctic Channel as well. And therefore, the US demand for Greenland, Trump's demand for Greenland, Trump's focus saying that it's a national security issue with respect to the Arctic and the Greenland issue, correct? All these actually play into this entire process. So it's a very complex game that's evolving. Like I said, the Russians and Chinese are not sleeping. They are very conscious of what is happening around, and they have their counters already, being developed.
One more question? Yes.
Hello. My question is to ma'am. Like you said, you were in Afghanistan. So, based on your experience and in Afghanistan, what was the main reason that America entered Afghanistan?
Well, I was not there when America entered Afghanistan. I was there when they were leaving. But I think we know the history, why it starts from 9/11 and why America thought it was done by Osama bin Laden of Al-Qaeda, and how Laden was eliminated, and how the war on terror started, and how eventually NATO was roped in. So that is the history that you probably need to read and understand how it happened. But the interesting part was how they left. They enter a country, they ransack, and then they leave it in a complete mess. And then we start blaming the regime that comes there, okay, that's a bad regime. So we need to understand how this hegemon works. So and this is a precedent. This is not just Afghanistan. They have done that in Vietnam, and much before they have been doing this. So the point is here to understand the American designs, right? But of course, to coming back to your question, it happened because of 9/11, simply as that. And then they thought they'll be eliminating terror, Al-Qaeda, whatever nexus, I will not name them. But do you think they have, that has what had happened? They ousted the Taliban, then they brought the Taliban back by signing a peace deal. What can be more hilarious than that? Thank you.
Yeah, please. Yes, yes. So mic is coming, mic is coming.
This is a gifted opportunity for India to conquer energy. We have a lot of rivers, we have got a coastline with a lot of winds. If we use this, definitely we can electrify India in another 10 years. The government is also working on it, and I am very sure that in another 10 years, India will not have a problem of oil import and other things. Not only that, the most important thing that the youth has to do is create new technologies to make India a better place for, not only for us, but for the whole world. How do we do that? That is the problem. And we have our own internal, what is called the big market of ISA network and other things. If we are able to cut them, we will not have any fear from others. Thank you.
Okay, if I just give the, okay.
Yeah, and basically your point is about energy security, and I think even this recent issue has brought in a lot of opportunity. As I mentioned, the complete production of CNG has gone up. They're looking at ethanol, 20% of ethanol being mixed, and renewable energy, which has got a thrust. You see the sales of EV vehicles last quarter, it's gone up. So obviously this is the future. But India, in terms of government policies, including the digital governance that was brought out in the previous panel, will have to ensure that it reaches the common man and is able to reach out to all this. There are many questions about environment, when you are trying to build dams and all that. So those are issues which need to be looked at by the EIA. It is the Environment Impact Analysis Group. So energy security continues to be a top priority item for policymakers in Delhi. Okay.
Thank you very much. You want to answer?
So last question.
Okay, so the answer is very clearly that since we are dependent to the extent of 85% on fossil fuel from outside, it makes sense. India is blessed with a lot of solar power, solar issues, wind energy, and therefore renewable energy development is the correct way to go by. And there the challenges are technology and materials. So to the extent of 80% dependency is on China for critical mineral supplies. We need to overcome that. A lot of technologies need to be developed indigenously. We are still dependent on external technologies. If we crack this, if we have and the government has got a strategic roadmap. So if we address that effectively, let's say over the next 20 years, we bring our fossil fuel dependency to less than 50%, we would have cracked a lot of problems very well, extremely well.
Thank you. Thank you, Marshal Matisharan, Commodore Vasan, Nayanima, and thanks to all of you for turning up for this event. We are running out of time, and then with this, I bring this session to an end. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, a bigger round of applause for our panelists. Well, as we wrap our session too, it's clear that in the multipolar world, a static ID policy is no longer enough. We need a dynamic framework that can navigate shifting global orders in complex foreign policy landscape, and our deepest gratitude to our panelists and our moderator for shaping it beautifully. Thank you. I request Mr. Shafiqur Rahman, General Manager, Events and Activation, to kindly join us on the stage and to felicitate our panelist and our moderator. Thank you. I request, ladies and gentlemen, kindly give us a minute more of your time. We have Sri Sudha ma'am who would like to take the mic to speak a few words.
Good evening, one and all. I wish to say thank you to Hindu group as well as SRM management. So let me take 1 minute time. So this panel discussion is very, very important because India is becoming very strong when it comes to academic empowerment. But to build an inclusive society, governance is very, very important. At SRM School of Law, we have started one important course that is nothing but Master of Public Policy, wherein we train future leaders and we will provide them with a wonderful platform to learn the law and apply it timely at national as well as global level. So, dear students, parents, as well as participants, I humbly request each one of you to visit SRM University, specifically School of Law, so that you will understand what kind of bright careers are available against the label of MPP. I thank Hindu for taking this wonderful initiative to bring versatile people to know about careers in law as well as Master of Public Policy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, and all our dear friends who are still here with us, thank you to each one of you for staying with us till the end, and I want you all to give a bigger round of applause for yourselves, please. As we conclude today's session, we hope these discussions have provided valuable insights into the future of your career of governance and global policies. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of SRM Institutes of Science and Technology and the Hindu and digital news partner, the Federal, I would like to extend my gratitude to our panelists, our moderator, and to each of our guests who are here with us. Thank you for your time. Kindly join us for dinner. Thank you.